Hello, I'm Joseph Barber, and for today's horror mini review, I'm going to be talking about May, a film from 2002 written and directed by Lucky McKee and starring Angela Bettis. May is actually a horror movie that I've seen before, quite a lot actually. It's probably the single horror movie, at least, probably not movie, that I've seen the most. And it's definitely in my top three films of all time. Not just horror films, but just films in general. The basic plot is there's this lonely girl called May who works at a vet as an assistant, and it's just sort of her, I suppose, slow downfall as things get worse and worse for her. But ultimately, it's just an examination of loneliness and how it affects us and how desperate we can get just for any sort of human contact, any sort of humanity. And I think that's the thing. May is one of the most human films I've ever seen. It's kind of hard to describe what exactly I mean by that, but it feels very real, even though it's quite extreme in its third act as well as some of the earlier bits. It's also just the main actress just plays May so well and brings such life to the character. And it's definitely something that could have just sort of been a generic slasher film. The basic plot of it, that this lonely girl starts killing people, basically. It's not exciting, it's not new, but it's done in such a unique way. And it's also, every time I watch it, I'm surprised by just how funny the film is, not just in the third act when the violence gets quite extreme, but they still manage to have fun with it. I guess it's very dark humor, especially at the end, but even earlier on, you have a man coming into the vet and saying, I had my dog, I went away for a couple days, and now I came back, and my dog has 3 legs. He can't fetch, he can't do anything, he just has 3 legs, and the way they present it, the way the actors present it, it's almost melodramatic, everything. It's just straight-faced, but over the top. And for me, that just really works. It's definitely the funniest horror film I've ever seen, and just the way scenes play into one another and some of how the jokes are built up just works so well. So overall, I wouldn't say it's actually that scary of a film. There are a few moments of genuine tension. There's actually some earlier in the film it's basically social awkwardness, how bad things are going to go. It's the same thing as like The Office or other sort of cringe comedies almost, but built up quite tense, I suppose, because you care for the main character, you want her to succeed. And in the finale, it's not particularly tense, it's just sort of what feels like a natural conclusion for the film. So it's not that scary of a horror film, but I'd almost call it more of a psychological comedy, sort of, or maybe a thriller. I don't know. The genres, they all sort of mix together. It's definitely, at least for me, and I have quite a dark sense of humor, and this film has a very dark sense of humor. It's definitely a comedy film, maybe with horror as the subgenre, basically, comedy horror. But it's definitely one of the best films I've ever seen, especially the finale, and that's the thing. For films, generally for me, the third act, and especially how the film ends exactly, is what really sticks with me, what brings a film up from like a 4-star to a 5-star, or a film that I really want to see again to one that I just don't really care about. That's the difference, and May really nails the ending, and in another film it might be quite cheesy or come off quite ridiculous. The surrealness like takes over the top, but in this film it feels like it really earned the ending. It deserved it. It built up everything towards it, and then at the end it feels just right. So that was my review of May and my final horror review for this month of October. It's definitely still have a lot of things to work on, but I'm glad I did this. Don't know if anyone's watching, but if you are, have a good night, or good afternoon, or good morning. Ta.